Today I'm going to be going and getting all the materials that I'm going to need to start the deck work for my little flat bottom John boat. As you saw in the previous video of this John boat build series, I went and bought myself a 14-foot flat bottom John boat. The actual model of this boat is a 1432, and what I'm going to be doing is building a deck on the top that spans from this seat to this seat so that I've got a nice bow fishing platform and a platform that I can put my lights on. So I'm gonna have LED light bars on the deck shining down towards the water for bow fishing, obviously. And then in the back, I'm gonna build a floor system in the back here so it's just easier to stand up. So first I'm gonna head to town and get some supplies that I need in order to work on this boat. I might even put a compartment in the deck so that I can store things like life jackets or anything else that I need to store, food, water, fishing tackle, stuff like that. But we are going to go get all the stuff that I need to start working on this boat. All right, friends, we have got materials. I've got two 4x8 by 1.5 inch sheets of closed cell foam. That is going to be basically the underlayment for the floor. And then I've got two 1/2 inch plywood sheets. That's gonna be the actual floor itself. And then I've also got these 2x3s. And I went with the 2x3s over the 2x4s basically just to save weight. This is not going to be a full aluminum build. I'm kind of doing this on a budget. I'd like to have this be kind of like a budget build boat. With that being said, construction materials in general anymore are like through the roof. So a lot of the budget build videos that you've seen from 5-6 years ago where they do this entire thing for under $500, $800, that is no longer the case. As you know, I have purchased the boat and the trailer for $1,300, and in today's market, that is actually very, very cheap. All the other boats I was looking at was around that $2,000 range with a trailer, if not more. Now, I could have found a boat itself for around $800, and then a trailer itself for around $300 or $400, but both of them would have needed work. So that $1,300 mark, getting a boat and trailer both in really good condition, that's kind of that sweet spot that I was willing to spend. So on top of that, with everything else I want to do with the boat, we're spending another, let's say $700 to get to around that $2,000 mark for a fully kitted out boat that I am going to enjoy for the next several years. Now, as I said, construction material has gone through the roof in the last several years. So all of this together, along with a bag of goodies, we've got screws, we've got hangers for the 2x3s, we've got epoxy resin to seal off the plywood floor so that they can stand the test of time, paint brushes, we've got a bucket for mixing the epoxy, we've got stainless steel screws for the framing that I'm going to do for the deck screws so that we can actually build the framing for the deck. So anyway, I've got a bunch of stuff here from Menards. It costs $220 in materials, and that's going to cover a large majority of what I'm going to be doing in terms of the decking and flooring on this boat. So anyway, we are just gonna jump right into getting the flooring done. So I'm gonna make a plywood floor for this thing, starting with the middle section. That's probably the easiest one to make a template for and get a floor in. I think I can finish that one today. But then I'm also going to look at putting a floor in the front and a deck on the front. So I want a floor in the front so that it's nice and tidy when I open any hatches that I'm going to try to make on the deck. It's just got a really nice floor and I can wall it off and get it exactly how I want it so that it's not just, you know, you open up a hatch and it's just bare aluminum on the bottom. Really hard to clean out, you lose stuff. Just trying to keep it nice and tidy as well as fully functional. So I even thought about framing in this front portion here in order to have a cooler sit there. But for now, I know for sure I need to get floors in it, and then we'll work on the decking. All right, first things first, with the flooring, we are going to measure between these ribs on the bottom of the boat, and between those ribs we're going to be putting this closed cell foam. Now I've already measured the height of these ribs right here, and we've got about 1.5 inches. So I went and got closed cell foam that is 1.5 inches thick, and it's a 4x8 sheet of closed cell foam, so I got 2 of them, plenty to do this entire boat, but obviously we're just focusing on this portion of the deck right now. So I'm going to cut out strips of this foam to span between these 2 ribs and these 2 ribs, and then cut 2 smaller strips to span between the seats and the outer ribs. So this one, we've got 17 inches to get a nice fit, both front and back. I'm just cutting this with a regular like drywall knife. Just any kind of blade will do. Cut it on the front. Just like that. And I've got 32 inches. Strike it. Pop that off. And just like that, we have got a subfloor for our plywood. All right, now that I've got the subfloor laid in, I am going to measure for the plywood and go ahead and cut the plywood. So I've got 49.5, 49.5, 34.5, 34 and just under a half. So this boat does narrow towards the front, but I'm gonna be cutting this plywood long. So 49.5 is about 1/4 inch long, and 34.5 is about 1/4 inch long. So that being said, I'll be able to cut a piece that I can trim down later in order to get an exact fit. What I don't wanna do is cut a piece that's too small, and then obviously I can't add to it. So cutting it 49.5 by 34.5, that will create a slightly oversized piece of wood, and then I can trim it down from there and measure out my notches so that I can notch it out and have just a nice flush fitting piece of plywood for the bottom. Got it. You like that I've got a Milwaukee bag full of DeWalt tools? Okay, so that's about perfect. I knew it was gonna be slightly oversized, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna shave off about 1/4 inch off the one side so that it can drop down. Perfect. So it drops right down where I need it. So with that, I know that these ribs are 1 1/4 inches, and I'm gonna measure off 1 1/4 inches and mark that right there so that I know where to notch to in order to get this thing to sit how I want it. Just like that. That is gonna be mighty close, my friends. That. So actually, once I get this back piece cut, I can just float this plywood all the way across. It'll be a perfect fit. Oh yeah. 34, 40.5. half.
Good girl.
Okay, so now I've got these cut. This back one, I'm gonna go ahead and recess it so that when my plywood comes across and sits on this ledger board on the top of it, it'll be flush with the actual seat itself. And then I'm gonna cut out a little cubby right here in order to fit a cooler. So, should be a pretty straightforward little frame up, to be honest. But once this is mounted like this, then I mount that one over there. I'm gonna build all the framing between them. And we're back. It is the next morning and I'm gonna show you what I did last night, just buttoning things up, and what I'm gonna continue to do the rest of this morning. So last night I went ahead and made a floor system for the front of the boat. Even though the front of the boat's gonna be covered with my deck, I still wanted a floor system in the front so that when I make a couple of these cubbies, I'm gonna have a good solid base for putting things and setting things, and they're not gonna be setting on the ribs of the boat. As I said yesterday, I was gonna go ahead and attach the front and the rear ledger boards. Basically what I did was I used a 2.5-inch stainless steel self-tapping, basically it's a leg bolt, more or less like a small leg bolt. I attached this 2x3 to the front of the middle seat and dropped it down so that my platform, let's say this strip of plywood is my platform, so that it will butt up nice and flush with the top of the seat. Then I went ahead and cut some supports that go straight down to the floor of the boat, and these are not attached to the floor of the boat, rather they're just kind of wedged in there and sitting flat on the floor of the boat. And then I've got it attached with screws to the actual ledger board so that it's nice and rock solid and not gonna have any movement. Then I pretty much did the same thing on the front, but I did not do the kickers on the front. The front is actually going to just be a board that I can screw to with the rest of the framing. I don't really need the support on the front because the front of the deck I'm planning on having span over that front aluminum piece. So yesterday I went ahead and measured my north to south on both sides of this boat and cut myself a couple of 2x3s to be able to fit directly in there. So we're just gonna put these in real quick. Now with this framing system, obviously the materials you're using, you don't want to have it get wet and fall apart over time. So I am using treated lumber, so treated 2x3s, and I'm screwing them all together, but I'm leaving my anchors for the ledger boards open so that I can still access those anchors, so that once I get the framing completely finished on this, I can pull those anchors out, pull the entire frame piece out for the front deck, and then I can coat it all with that fiberglass resin so that all the boards are waterproof, not gonna soak up water over time and fall apart. So that is just an easy way to make sure that this thing is going to be and stay waterproof. And as you can see, I'm basically just toenailing with the screws. Once I get everything finished, then I can pull this whole thing out and I'll screw in from the butt end and get it all finished up that way. We're gonna go 34 and 3/8. We're gonna be using these plastic totes that I picked up at Menards, and these are just gonna get framed into the front of the boat. So these totes I went ahead and measured before I bought them, but they perfectly fit right underneath the framing. Boom, storage. All right, so I cut my first deck and realized I hated the position of where I had my storage. So I cut me a second deck and I only did one storage up front. So I've got one storage panel here, which is this cubby here. And I think for now, I'm just going to leave this as a framing piece for the floor and not put any storage units here, but keep my opening for the cooler towards the back of it, because the more I thought about it, the less I liked the idea of that much storage. We are going with one storage unit towards the front, and we are keeping the opening on the back for the cooler. So the deck is finished. It fits like a glove. The framing is finished, just like that. So the front panel fits perfect. I've got the cubby on the back for my cooler. And here I'm just gonna put, like I say, my storage right here. I also really like the idea of doing my storage like this because it fits perfectly, just like that. And obviously shuts nice and flush, but also this storage is removable. So I can remove this thing if it gets too dirty, too banged up, and I can access underneath the floor of the deck without having to take the deck off. So I might even just leave that in there loose like that. And then I'm gonna put a strap handle on this so that I can easily open it and shut it. All right, so change of plans on the flooring for the boat. Last night I was laying in bed and I was pricing out how much flooring of the EVA foam flooring that I was gonna need in order to cover all of my plywood floor and the deck. And let's just say we're not going that route because I was gonna have like $240 in EVA flooring. I ain't spending that. I have a really hard time spending that much money. We're gonna keep it budget boat route and go with a much cheaper option, which is this outdoor carpet. Now, I don't like the AstroTurf look, like the green AstroTurf. So we are gonna go with this black charcoal. I think it'll be perfect. It's an indoor-outdoor carpet that is like fade resistant, weather resistant, tear resistant, water resistant. It's got like, it's just a good carpet. So I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get myself 2 rolls of that. They are 6 foot by 8 foot rolls. That'll be plenty, like plenty to cover the entire boat and have extra in case I mess up. It's only $25 a roll, so I'll have 50 bucks in carpet in total, which is much better than $240. If I do anything with the EVA flooring, I might just get like 1 roll to do the seats, have a little bit more comfortable cushion on the seats, and just have something that's like maybe a little more aesthetically pleasing. But yeah, I ain't spending $240 on foam to put in my John boat. This is gonna be a much better option right here. And with this carpet being black, I think I'm gonna have a lot better situation in terms of staining and weathering with, you know, if I shoot a deer and I've got to haul a deer out, putting it on the deck, or, you know, if I shoot a bunch of carp and there's a bunch of stuff in the boat, I'm not gonna have as bad a problem with staining with this dark black carpet like this as I would like a lighter EVA foam. So anyway, that is what we're gonna go with. I'm gonna get 2 rolls, 50 bucks worth of carpet, get a little carpet glue, and I think that will be a better, cheaper solution that's still gonna look great and function very well, but not break my pocketbook with trying to put flooring in this John boat. All right, so I've got my deck and my flooring pieces all laid out here. I've wiped them down with a towel. I've cut off a 1/4 inch around the outside of everywhere that would fit against the boat so that I've got room to stretch the carpet underneath and staple it. So now the next thing is to mix up my fiberglass resin right here and start coating these things. Sure, seal the ends. So with this resin, you're pouring a 1/4 can of the resin to a 1/4 tube of hardener. Mix it up like this. Once it's all nice and mixed, then I just take this thing and douse it everywhere like this. And take my paintbrush and spread all that around. All right, so I've got the floor pieces and the deck drying, at least for the first coat on the front. And I went ahead and removed the deck. As I said before, I just attached it right here with these stainless steel self-tapping leg bolts. And there's 4 on this side and 4 on this side. And then the back side, obviously I have these anchors going down to the floor. So I went ahead and removed the deck framing That way I can come in here and attach all the screws that I want to and suck this thing real nice and tight. Like I say, just for right now, I've got these screws coming in from the top just about everywhere, but I want to make sure that this thing is nice and sturdy. All right, so now I've got my indoor-outdoor carpet laid out. I've got my deck laid out on the indoor-outdoor carpet. I'm going to trim this off right here, and then I'm going to lift this deck up, and I'm going to spray both the carpet and the front side of the deck with this spray adhesive. Now, the reason I'm going with the spray adhesive and not carpet glue is if I ever want to replace this carpet later on, if I use carpet glue, that's going to be a nightmare to take the carpet glue off and actually be able to still reuse my deck. So I am just going to use this spray adhesive, and then once I cut it out, I'm going to cut around the edges and fold everything over and staple it down with stainless steel staples. So let's get to it. All right, I went ahead and sprayed this side and the side that's facing down. Now I just laid it over it, walking it all out, jumping on everything, making sure it's nice and secured. All right, a little sweat, getting hot out, but we got it all stapled down all the way around, cut, trimmed, stapled. Here's the big reveal. So now I'm going to repeat that process for all of the pieces, which I've got the rest of them here in the truck, and we should be good to go. All right, guys, I am at the point now where I'm taking all of my panels out of the boat and my insulation panels out of the boat so that I can clean this stuff that we got going on here. I am going to paint this boat, but I'm running out of season for bow fishing. But for now, I'm going to secure the decking, the framing for the deck, all the flooring, everything, after I clean the whole boat out and take it out bow fishing. And if you're wondering what these are, I will show you in just a little bit, but I have an entire light system for this boat that doesn't require any batteries, doesn't require a generator, doesn't require any wiring, nothing. But we got some incredible bow fishing lights for this boat, and I'll show you how I'm setting everything up. Very easy, very inexpensive, DIY. You can take all of the lights off very, very quickly with just a couple of bolts. And you don't have to drill or weld on the boat at all whatsoever. So anyway, I'm working on, like I say, just taking all these panels out, laying them out on the ground right here. And then I'm going to take a vacuum, a shop vac, and come in here and clean out the entire boat. So if you guys want to see, here are all of the pieces for the flooring and the deck, including the framing for the deck, all the floors, all the foam insulation that goes on the bottom of the boat. And then here is the boat completely empty. That only took me about 5 minutes to get everything out of the boat. Now I need to come in, clean this whole thing, and then I'll be putting all the decking back on. All right, we got the boat all vacuumed out. Looking good. Like I say, I want to paint this boat, but for right now, I just want to put everything in it and get it out on the water so I can do a couple weeks of bow fishing, and then I'll paint it. So, time to put everything back in the boat. All right, we've got the whole deck and all the flooring secured, screwed down. This middle floor, I actually only used 2 screws, one here and one there. So I want to be able to take that middle floor out very easily if I need to in order to clean and stuff. Back floor, 2 screws. And then the deck, got 4 screws holding it on here and 4 screws holding it on in the front here. and then 2 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a couple along the back, just to make sure everything's cinched down onto that frame. But got plenty of space underneath for storage if I need to of life jackets. I've got storage right here, so I can reach the life jackets and or anything else I want to put underneath here. But then I'll put this little storage unit here. Pretty well set up with the floor. So I'm going to continue installing the rest of these lights, and then this dang boat is going to be real close to being able to get out on the water. Now, as you can probably see, I've got quite a few parts from Amazon, from the hardware store, all good stuff. We've got a little emergency paddle. We've got rod holders, more rod holders, portable navigation light kit. We've got some clamps for some projects that I want to do later on. These are the Realtree original stencils to paint with. We've got some brackets for my light kit. We've got some accessories for the light kits. And we've got this battery box right here. So I'm gonna work on installing this battery box in the back here. Probably gonna put it in that corner. Pretty slick little box. Got some dividers, strap, and a weatherproof top. We're probably, like I say, probably gonna mount it right in this corner here somewhere. Now I've got this little Atwood navigation light kit. So I'm installing it on the back here. It actually is removable. It's got a little safety pin that removes it. And then these are just battery powered, so I don't have to have them hooked up to any battery source. That one will go on the front, and this one will go on the back right here. All right, I got the rear mounted here, and this just slides in here with the little cotter pin. Navigation light. I also got the battery box mounted, weather tight battery box mounted to the back. I'm gonna mount this battery charger maintainer next. Then on the front, I got this one mounted, and I'll be keeping that one in here, but that one just goes on there with its own little keeper clip down here. So all right, we got a battery installed for the trolling motor. And then we've got our little Noco. It's like a battery maintainer hooked up down here, just screwed into the side of the battery box. We've got the fuse for it, and we've got the 2 leads running to our terminals. And then we've got our plug that when we're not using the boat, we'll just keep this plugged in, and it'll keep that battery maintained. And this goes over the top, just like that. And then the strap goes over it. Pretty nice little setup. All right, guys, on to the lights for this boat. These are outdoor solar lights. So these are like outdoor floodlights that you would mount maybe 10 to 15 feet up on a pole so that you have yard lights. And these claim to be 10,000 lumens a piece at 100% brightness. Now, they're close. I don't know if they're right on, but they are close. I've already tested them. And with 4 to 6 hours of charging in the sunlight, I've had them sitting out here charging. It's a little shaded right now, but 4 to 6 hours of charging in the sunlight, you get 6 to 8 hours of working time at 100%. And I tested that last night, and they do last a very long time. I shut them off at 3 hours because I needed to go to bed. But pretty dang powerful little lights. How I've mounted them, I've just done a PVC tube like this connecting them. This is a 3-foot tube, and then these go inside this tube, and these slide inside the lights and will attach in there with a couple of screws, and then you just screw these into the PVC rods, so on and so forth, and you make yourself a homemade light bar for bow fishing. Then you take this and you come over to your boat, and you use these dog kennel clamps. So these are for clamping dog kennel panels together. You take those and you attach another couple little pieces, put your light bar right here, and attach 2 more clamps on top of those, and you've got a light bar mounted. And I will show you how that looks once I get this all put back together. But basically, light bars all around. 6 lights. All you have to do is use a wrench and take off 6 bolts, and you can completely remove these lights off of the boat. No drilling, no welding, no screwing into your aluminum. Just completely clamp on. Completely wireless. You don't have to use any batteries for the light bars. You don't have to run any batteries in series. You don't have to run a generator. These are truly a solar panel light bar, and they're supposedly waterproof because they are an outdoor light that's meant to live outside, and they're remote controlled. You can use, it came with 6 remotes because I bought 6 lights, but you can use one remote to control every light. You just point it at the light and turn them on, and you can adjust the brightness settings, 25, 50, 75, 100%. You can adjust how long they stay on, 8 hours, 5 hours, 3 hours, 2, 6. And then this is a motion sensor. You can set it to be motion sensor because they are yard lights. I don't use it as the motion sensor because I want them on all the time. But yeah, pretty nifty lights. And if you're wondering, I spent $100 on all 6 lights, and I think I have another $40 in the PVC and the clamps. So all in all, $140 full-blown LED light bar system, 10,000 lumens a piece. And they are waterproof, and they are detachable without any screws or welding. And obviously no wires, no batteries, and no generator. That's what I wanted. That's how I did it. That's how I built it. We're gonna hook these things up and show you how they work. All right, so I've got the short rod screwed into the light, front and back. Now I'm gonna take this short rod and insert it into the longer one so that it's got rigidity, and then I'll screw this in a couple places and attach another one to that end. So now, if you can see, I've taken our light bar, if you will, this bar that I've built with the lights on it, and I've attached it to this little 6-inch piece of PVC and attached that to the boat with the dog kennel clamps. So you've got 2 dog kennel clamps here, and then you've got the lights mounted just like that. And again, all wireless. You don't have to wire anything, and you can loosen this and completely adjust the angle of your lights just by rotating this bar or moving the bar up and down. And then if you want to take these off, you just take these clamps off at the boat. So 1, 2 clamps, and this whole assembly comes off, and this gets to stay at the same adjustment that you last left it. So all in all, just an awesome little bow fishing light setup for very cheap. All right, now we're talking. We got 2 lights on the back mounted at the rear seat and 4 lights on the front, so you can shoot right off the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the back. This is gonna be a dang unit, boys and girls. All right, guys, here is the final product. I went ahead and actually did this foam flooring, and I put it on the cooler as well as both seats, front and back. But we got a 15-horse Merc sitting off the back. I'll overlay some footage here of that thing running. Just a perfect motor for this boat. Honestly, it's an oversized motor for this boat, but on a lake like this, it's pretty fun. We got everything rocking. I've been doing a little bit of fishing, but just wanted to show you the boat. I can stand right here on the cooler, fish off both sides. I can stand on the deck and fish off both sides, or bow fish any way you want to. But just a perfect little boat for bow fishing, bass fishing, and most important of all, whitetail access. So this is definitely going to be the premier whitetail access boat, especially when I go back to Kansas. I drew my Kansas tag again this year, so pretty excited about that. But we got the bow fishing lights off the side, as well as obviously the bow fishing bow on the front. That is just for, you know, if we run into a carp a random carp. I'm about a month late on the whole bow fishing thing. I probably should have bought a boat about a month ago, and then I'd have been covered up in carp. But at this point, we are about a month late on the spawn. All those carp have pretty much gone to deeper water, but take the boat anyway, just in case we run into some carp. Pretty dang sweet boat. I don't know what y'all think about this boat, but I am absolutely loving it. It is just the perfect boat. I would say if I were to build another one, so this is a 1432, meaning 14 feet long, 32 inches wide at the bottom. If I were to build another one, I would probably go 1436 or just go like 1648. Go super wide with it, a little bit longer. That way I can get 2 people in this thing, maybe even 3 people, like very comfortably. Right now, 2 people, like fishing, no problem. Bow fishing, probably still no problem, but it's that, like if one person is on one side of the boat and another person's on the other side of the boat, it's gonna be a little tippy. We'll make do, obviously, we'll make do. Anyway, that's it. That is my boat. It really wasn't that much work to put into this boat. It's pretty simple build, and obviously you guys saw it firsthand how I built the boat. So if you want to build your own 1432 or 1436, 48, 1648, etc., just follow this little guide that I did in the video. It's really, really easy. Don't be scared of it. It's really a pretty straightforward job in order to build, you know, floors and a deck in these John boats. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I enjoyed building the boat. So anyway, we're gonna load this thing up and I'm gonna head back home and get ready for South Dakota Total Archery Challenge. Appreciate y'all watching. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.